Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today, well, first of all, Mara's I can keep waiting because that guy sucks, but also, we've got a number of travel events stacked up in the queue, so that gives us a good excuse to tool around. Ultimately, we're setting our sights on tying up a couple of minor loose ends. The unresolved rumor in the Forgotten Twins, and the magnetic storms in Omicron. Neither is all that important on their own, of course, but, we do need an excuse to just bide our time for a bit, whilst we clear our queue. And it is important to get all this stuff finished before we round out the act, since we have no idea what'll happen once we move into Act 3. And I suppose as long as we're up here, we might as well also just go ahead and finish filling out our travel routes. Though I suspect we won't get far before we get sidetracked. Oh, yep, it begins. As I am now fated to be your shadow, Daman Valen, we must perform a ritual that will seal our bond, for it pleases the Undying One. Let us speak on the bridge, and I will take us to a place appropriate for the ritual. Is that right? I feel like we've had plenty of ritual already, so what could we possibly have left? Come, and you will see. I do not wish to speak of the mysteries of the blood-spun web over the Vox. This knowledge is not meant for the ears of the uninitiated. Okay, well, I guess I will see you shortly, then. Thank you, Daman. Cabela is waiting on the bridge. So noted. But first, let's go ahead and set up this route before I forget about it. I believe this is the last of our major trade routes, at least for now. I'm honestly not sure if there's more, colonies to unlock later down the line. I don't want to be too frugal with our navigation points, but at the same time, I do want to generally try to maintain at least 10 at any given time, just in case. Anyway, let's go see what's going on with Kibbles. Oh, you're Liette. You've moved. I don't think that's where she used to stand. Thanks. Thanks for waiting until I was in the splash zone. I do appreciate that. Kibbles puts away her dagger and turns her attention to you. Cabela, if you're done stabbing yourself, I would, love to know more about why you're such a freak.
Then follow me, Daman.
Sure. Where are we? Oh, officer's deck. Interesting. That is the fire bridge. That's the bridge from the prologue where we first glimpsed the ghost of Theodora. Yeah, they dressed it up, but that's definitely the same bridge. I mean, minus the fire and plus a bunch of candles and a circle maze?
Are you ready to step into the labyrinth, Daman?
Cabela moves in a peculiar semblance of an athletic exercise, her movements tracing an inscrutable pattern. Ah, right, okay, yeah, it's a classic labyrinth, like the Minotaur. They were, at least in pop culture, often shown as circular. I'm not sure. Cabela, what exactly am I looking at here?
This is the ritual of binding. By the Undying One's will, our fates are now as one. But I must still guide you into the maze of my mind. Although it is my predestination alone to walk its corridors in search of answers, your image must become part of the tangle. For I am your shadow, Daman, and your presence will aid me in sensing whatever threats may be looming over you.
I see, and these markings on the floor, you called this, labyrinth?
Instructions, directions, a depiction of the puzzle that can only be solved within one's own consciousness by following its bends and turnings. I do not require these lines to find my way, but for you, they will serve as a guiding thread.
Right, so we're talking like a mind palace, but with a labyrinthian twist. Interesting. The question now being, is this all just ceremony, or are we actually going full Inception? Yeah, sure, let's do this.
Your weapon for the ritual. Watch the lines on the floor. You can only pass through the gaps. The rest, you need not know. Enter the labyrinth, Domin.
Cabela draws a curved blade and offers it to you. She bows curtly and assumes a combat stance.
You are now upon the path. Your shadow now walks the labyrinth, and my gaze can now see when danger draws near you.
Cabela's breathing is steady, and there is no change in her solemn expression. Her lips continue moving for a while longer, her eyes tracing the lines on the floor. Oh, was that it? That's actually... well, I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough. So, now that we've done it, can you explain to me what this really was? Like, what practical function was this supposed to serve?
You are not required to understand. You have joined the ritual. That will suffice.
Cabela glances at you with apprehension. You know what, that is technically true, but crazy me, here I was thinking that we might be able to work better together if we, actually understand each other.
Understand me? Why, Domin? My fate is preordained, and our places assigned. We both must serve the Undying One, as his design foretells. But if such is indeed your wish...
Cabela hesitates and raises her chin. You see her eyebrows creeping upward before quickly straightening once more.
My path of service to the Undying Emperor is one of many twists and pitfalls. Every mind is fraught with weakness, and only by honing it tirelessly can one achieve focus and prime one's perception. I envision the tenets of the web as a maze of tangles and dead ends. Each time I go into a trance, be it one of the soul or of battle, I walk this path from beginning to end. And now that you're a part of it, you will be there with me when next I enter the labyrinth.
Okay, yeah, so it is like a mashup of the Mind Palace concept with like a muscle memory reflex training exercise sort of thing. That actually makes a weird sort of sense.
You may deem it strange. You live in a world so far removed from my own that such rituals must seem absurd to you. I am sure I would find your rituals equally mystifying.
She permits herself a smile in the very corners of her mouth, and a spark of flustered curiosity lights up in her normally aloof gaze. My own rituals. I mean, I am but a humble servant of the Imperium. I work, I pray, I kill. What do I do that seems so strange to you?
You are empowered by the will of the Undying One himself, and yet, when I look at your life, I am surprised. You follow a different thread, one that does not seem as strict to your thoughts and deeds. There is so much luster.
She thinks for a moment. Oh, well that, I mean, you've got to look below the surface. Those are just trappings of my position. You've got to dig deeper to see the real grim darkness that lurks beneath. But I'll tell you what, Cabela, you have given me a glimpse of your own esoteric world. It only seems fair if I show you a glimpse of mine. Perhaps give you some valuable context about how things actually work.
To partake in one of your ceremonies? Returning the courtesy. That is how you say it up here, isn't it? I will await your invitation.
Cabela pauses to think, then offers you a respectful bow.
The labyrinth has accepted you. We have danced amid the crossing lines and minds, and by the dance, we are now bound.
Cabela straightens, stows her weapons, and gives you another short bow. Interesting. Very, very short, but very intriguing. And you know, one thought that did occur while I was watching that all play out is the mind maze. While it didn't ultimately seem to play much role in this, there are some interesting parallels between Cabela and Bolt, the trained rat the flautist used to take advantage of people. Danrock, I've come to bargain. Or rather, Cabela has expressed some interest in broadening her view, getting to know how things work on the ship a bit better beyond the lower decks. I was hoping you could arrange some events so that I might give her better context. Janris huffs pensively. Your lordship is most courteous. But what exactly did you have in mind? That is a good question. What would be really... I mean, I guess logically, it would be an officer meeting, not the most exciting thing, but that's definitely where Valen would be apt to spend most of his time. He is a creature of logic and logistics. And it would potentially give Cabela a better idea of how the ship functions based around compromise rather than extreme methodologies like the Death Cult are essentially built around approaching every problem with. At least in theory. When's our next officer meeting? Oh, your lordship. To be perfectly frank, even I struggle to stay awake at those meetings. Poor Mistress Cabela would surely not last long amid all the droning and tedium. Janris adjusts his frocked coat and nods enigmatically. I will see what can be arranged. And do not worry for a single moment. I promise to find the most suitable approach. I will contact you the moment I have something to offer. Okay, I mean, I feel like it shouldn't be that difficult to set up an officers' meeting on a ship, but, I am intrigued and also slightly concerned about how you are going to try to dress this up. I mean, I imagine it's going to be a disaster, but, you know, let's find out. He means well, I just don't think he really gets what we're going for here. He's going to try to turn it into some giant event full of pomp and circumstance, and thus simply further mystify Cabela by giving her the wrong idea about our daily routines, I'm sure. Alright, moving on. Let's see what we've got next in the queue. Oh, yep. Here we go. Oh no, don't ruin my bath. No. Well, yeah, I guess that's our title for the episode, and probably our thumbnail too. Sourback, how could you have let this happen? An assassination attempt upon the rogue trader in his own chambers, right under the noses of your enforcers? A fierce growl rumbles deep in Abelard's throat. The Master-at-Arms radiates grim fury. Her eyes are dark, her lips pursed. With a practiced hand, she removes the maul from her belt and offers it to you. An unforgivable error. I accept full responsibility and ask for due punishment. Put that thing away. I'm looking for explanations, not for vainglorious gestures. Report. Sourback hesitates for a moment before putting them all away. Understood, Lord Captain. Reporting. All adjacent decks have been isolated. We have begun our search for the culprit, and have set up investigation headquarters on the officer's deck. The substance has been analyzed and confirmed to be blood containing traces of major mutations. While it poses no risk of infection to your lordship, the very presence of such genetic aberration on board is a serious threat to the safety of the ship, and must be addressed promptly. Once word of this gets out, many among the crew will surely see it as a brazen challenge to your status as rogue trader. Doesn't really sound like an assassination attempt, more of a threat or warning. Genetic aberration? Explain. The heresy of mutation. Mutants are vicious beasts who sow only ruin and death. They are devoid of all humanity, and the vile blood that runs through their veins feeds their unclean thoughts and urges. Numerous accounts speak of entire colonies falling prey to bloody uprisings staged by these creatures, all because their governors were too squeamish to order genetic purges. You don't say. I wonder why somebody we don't consider human and exterminate by the thousands would think to revolt. What a crazy mystery. Alas, the Imperium's enemies are not limited only to those within its midst. Mutants can become a considerable threat, especially when given the chance to organize. The heretics have revealed themselves and are eager to fight? Then fight we shall! Let the vessel be purged of their filth! Gosh, thanks guys, really appreciate the input. So just to clarify, this clearly wasn't an actual assassination attempt, right? No. Then they would have filled the bath with acid or poison instead. There are easier ways to kill someone than drowning them in blood, as foul as that blood may be. Cassius shudders. I beg to differ. Were something of this sort to happen to me, my heart would surely stop. Right, so, what's next down the pipeline? As one, every enforcer present gets on their knees. Lord Captain, this incident has cast a shadow on our honor. We only ask for one thing, a chance to absolve ourselves of our guilt. Allow me to head to the officer's deck at once, so that I may lead the investigation personally. Lord Captain, on a previous occasion it was your intervention that resolved a matter that my own rigidity had only succeeded in making worse. With all due respect to Mistress Sourback, perhaps she would benefit from your fresh perspective. Ooh, my man Abby showing some real character growth. I don't hate that. Side note, as per the latest Raider poll, Abby is actually the second most popular character in the party, right behind Pascal. The lowest demand character was Jai. Poor Jai. Seneschal, do you think so little of me that you would rob me of a chance to defend my honor? No, he's definitely got a point. I mean, you've definitely got some priority issues, some vanity issues, and a cruel streak a mile wide. You know, I don't think you're disloyal, but I do think you really need to see that there are better ways to accomplish your goals with both the short and long-term good of the ship in mind. That aside, I mean, Valen's a former crime lord logic main with a computer brain. This is pretty much the scenario he was made for. I'll handle this one myself, but you can tag along. You see a look of horror in Sourback's eyes. Lord Captain, I implore you. This was my mistake. If you rectify it for me, I will be disgraced. Oh, darn, no, that's terrible. I would never want you to face the disgrace of knowing that your methods don't work. But you know what? I probably shouldn't say it that way. So, would it really be so humiliating to work beside your Lord Captain rather than beneath him? I had not considered it like that. Your resolve is commendable. I will await your arrival at the headquarters on the officer's deck to brief you on our current progress. Glad to hear it. And you know what? Oh, interesting, actually. That is, they literally just reintroduced the officer's deck with Cabela's thing, so that immediately makes me wonder if the death cult is somehow involved in this literal bloodbath. Like, actually, yeah, I mean, thinking back on their temple, they literally had a waterfall of blood flowing into their temple as a sign of honor for the Undying One. So, I think that's kind of where we're going with this. With our new experimental squad loadout. Sorry, Adira, you're on the bench for this one. Cabela, you're with me. Which honestly makes sense, considering the likely culprits at hand. Though the presence of the mutant blood is a bit odd. Then again, it's possible they just didn't know whoever they got that from was in fact a mutant. They're not xenobiologists, they're stabby fanatics. Sourback barks at the enforcers gathered before you. His lordship the rogue traitor wishes to handle the investigation personally. Lord Captain, the three before you have been tasked with conducting the investigation. The first, Captain Klein, is a veteran with a record of quelled uprisings of mutant abominations in the colonies. Captain Ginevri is young, but she has already preempted the several mutinies among the ship's rabble. Lastly, there is Captain Hrotko. His interrogation skills deserve credit, and he knows how to instill fear and respect firmly in the minds of the riffraff. Oh, well, he's immediately my least favorite. After carefully assessing the officers' bearings and their uniforms, Abelard nods with satisfaction. Their drilling is good. Their service records are excellent. Let's see how they perform in the field. So what do we know thus far? I need data to work with. We have discovered a worker's corpse, mutilated and desiccated. We are still looking into the man's identity and position, but the surgeon's report has confirmed that, among all the blood that was pumped into your bath chamber, the blood-carrying mutations was indeed his. The workers from the nearby decks have all been checked for genetic aberration, but the mutations identified are all within the norm for laboring masses. They are being rounded up for interrogation as we speak. Juliet frowns as she surveys the deck. So much noise and empty violence. I am surprised you were able to find anything in this pandemonium of your own making. Hey, Juliet, glad you could join us. It is nice having you back. Remind me to teach you later about how chairs work, because I don't think you're really appreciating the gravity of this situation. Even if we limit it to the adjacent decks, that's still hundreds, possibly thousands of people. Do you really have enough manpower to question them all? Our interrogation techniques are broad and varied. However, nothing loosens the tongue like corporal punishment. Beatings, mutilations, torture, public executions. Sourback almost purrs as she lists ways of making people suffer. When combined with psychological pressure, such methods work wonders. Wow, Sourback, wasting no time and making me very glad I took point on this one. Okay, so first up, let's not do that. I would like to proceed with an actual investigation, not just a crazy torture party. Let's maybe do this one my way. Lord Captain, these methods may be brutal, but their effectiveness has been proven over centuries of practice. No criminal will confess if you ask them politely. But if you shatter their finger and courteously remind them how many unshattered bones they still have left in their body, that is a different conversation altogether. That is how the truth is born. Oh, is it? And just a hypothetical here, but what happens if you shatter the finger of someone who isn't a criminal? What do you think happens then? Look, I'm just saying, I know this is all strange and new to you because you're some sort of crazy sadomasochistic torture monster, but I have faith that you can find some way to adapt to my personal preferences here. Sourback's glove creaks as she grips her maul. Her gaze remains cold and calm. As you command, Lord Captain. Great, glad to hear it. I'm loving that enthusiasm. So, theories? The mutants are plotting. Klein spits in disgust. They've been breeding like void rats, so they're getting cocky. Must have wanted to infect your lordship with their plague. It wasn't an attempt on the Lord Captain's life. It was a threat. The rabble are planning a revolt, so they're trying to terrorize us. Soon you will drown in blood. Insurgents pride themselves in such metaphors. Meanwhile, Captain Hrotko is convinced that it was the work of Voigtvir's surviving cultists. However, I believe this is a warning rather than a threat. What we need to establish is who is trying to warn us, and of what. Right, so where do you suggest we start? The body. Once we have ascertained the dead man's identity, we'll be able to locate his associates and narrow down the number of suspects. Captain Klein is in charge of examining the corpse. Right. The body was discovered on a suspended platform not far from the room with the armillary sphere. Take a left once you're out of the mess hall, your lordship, and go along the balcony. The corpse is on the next platform after the one holding the Infernus Guild suspects. I'll show you around the scene once you're there. Suspended platform where we met Cabela. I'm sorry, Infernus Guild suspects? Yes, your lordship. They were undergoing interrogation like all the rest. The scum refused to comply, so they were isolated on a separate platform. The Inferni are a rotten bunch. They must be involved in this. The captain spits contemptuously. Understood. Let's get to work. My people are at your disposal, Lord Captain. Oh, wow. Okay, so we actually get to play this out. I really honestly thought this was going to be like a unillustrated storybook event, you know? I didn't really think they'd let us play CSI Rogue Trader. The mounds of protocols enclose the arch transcriptors like paper bastions. You blink, and already another thick folder is added to the fortifications.
Is there money to be made?
Always fun to plunder our own ship. We didn't need this expensive booze anyway. More importantly, this also tells us that there is in fact loot to be had, so we'll scour every corner. I mean, we can probably guess where the corpse is regardless. I think the real question is going to be whether it is the cult that did this, or renegades, or some other group that's just trying to frame them. Because really, who else could it be? If we're working strictly within the confines of the DLC, we've got the Enforcers, obviously. We've got the Workers, we've got the Inferni, who are just a subset of the Workers. We've got the Cult. We've got the Hard Nines, I suppose. The Vanguard Smugglers, who may be associated with Captain Frenzo. He did have that suspicious injury right after we got into that firefight with the Vat Guards. Who do those Enforcers think they are? First they throw us out of the mess hall, then they pack the compartment with Workers and smear blood all over the floor. I'm sorry, what? Pretty sure I ordered them not to do that, but I'll look into it. Not much we can do, is there? This is serious. They've been publicly shamed, so now they're doing all they can to crawl back into the higher-ups' good graces. Right, they are violent and desperate to prove themselves. It's not a great combo. So let them do that on their own deck. What does it have to do with us? Why not tell this to the Master-at-Arms? She has a special maul for just such occasions. Yeah, that's not surprising. I don't know nothing about no blood. I'm just a welder. Are you talking back to me? I'd like to see you weld after I break both your elbows. Alright, easy, buddy. I'm right here. You guys are really bad at following orders. I'll ask you one more time, Worm. Where did you get the blood? Whom do you serve? I just work in a workshop. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very heavy-handed, but this very clearly illustrates the problem with their violent approach, you know. I mean, sure, you might eventually find someone who is guilty, or at least says they're guilty just to get you to back the fuck off, but my goodness. Oh, yep, there we are.
Let us not dawdle.
That might actually be a different platform. It doesn't look quite the same. Crimson, black, cerulean, gray. It has all become an ugly whirlwind of muck. Rage and despair have poisoned the bay. And treason has poisoned the whole damned ship. In the interest of dealing with it, I will try my best to ignore this ugly whirlwind you speak of. Ooh, that's some good loot. We might actually have enough cargo to bump up our Drusian rep after this. Which would give us access to that final colony project.
Rise to the top, or get left in the dust.
I wonder why some people's names are highlighted, but others aren't. I do not care if you're the Master Helmsman. There's been an assassination attempt on the Lord Captain, so no one is exempt from inquiry. The Enforcers have been given special powers to deal with the situation. I have orders to follow, and I will not submit to any interrogation. This is a clear abuse of authority. You're acting suspicious, officer. First you deny involvement, then you try to escape. Let us adjourn to the interrogation room. Or will I have to use force? I certainly have the authority to do so. Do you? I feel like I rescinded that, but, what do I know? I'm just the Lord Captain. Though I suppose, to be fair, we are only seeing threats right now. We're not actually seeing physical beatings. Still a very heavy-handed and questionably effective approach, but it is technically within the boundaries of my order, I think. The interrogation transcripts are strikingly redundant. They record everything, from the direction of the questioned person's gaze to the length of the pauses between their answers. Oh, this is where... A lift to the Lord Captain's quarters is hidden behind the metal plating here. On the day of Voigtvir's mutiny, you saw Lady Theodora leave the officer's deck this way. Yes, yeah, we're in the prologue area. That's fun. Nice to see them recycle it for something else. We also have Enforcer Ginevri off to our left with another named NPC. Tech Priest Androveta Phi. You are obstructing the investigation, esteemed Tech Priest. I require the information stored by this machine spirit. If you refuse to cooperate...
Petition rejected. A malady has befallen the machine spirit of the honored master cogitator, Iota 3B. Unauthorized anguish will worsen its condition and impede treatment. I will not stand for such acts of brutality against the great elder.
I'll show you brutality, you blasted cog. What's going on here? The greatly esteemed Tech Priest Androveta Phi does not seem to realize the importance of investigative action and refuses to grant anyone access to the Master Cogitator. Androveta Phi's mechadendrites creak as they bow before you.
Exalted ruler of the vessel, I mean no harm, but to protect. I merely care for the machine spirit's health. It has fallen ill of late, and now its temper is worse than ever. If the laywoman starts torturing it now, the venerable spirit may take offense and leave us forever, taking the logs of the lay people's toils with it. This must be prevented.
This statement is true. The incident catalog on this vessel contains no less than 12 instances of grievous loss of data due to disrespect shown the machine spirit by unauthorized units.
Ginevri, why do you need access to this cogitator in particular? What's so important about it? The work logs are on it. They might contain important information that will lead us to our suspect. Androveta Phi's Vox explodes in a furious binaric roar.
This laywoman does not even know what she intended to inquire of the blessed elder. Blasphemous disrespect.
Right, okay, got it. You two, I will be right back. Please don't kill each other. Ginevri and Androveta Phi offer you a mannerly bow before immediately resuming their tempestuous argument. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, and we can't use the console either, gotcha. So that is clearly the next step in our investigation. We have to check the body first, and then that'll likely give us a clue for the cogitator. The water supply system in the Lord Captain's quarters has been desecrated by the infusion of undesignated fluid. A sacrament of reconsecration is required. Initiating the changing of the water filters and the thrice flushing of the pipes with blessed disinfectant solution. May the spirits of the pumps not be angered. May the pressure meet the standards of operation. Oh, you guys really plumbing the depths of what the Omnissiah has to offer. Yeah, nothing else going on here. Though that might change later, because again, they just identified that as the pipe that leads to our bathroom. So we'll probably have to go back there later once we have more direction about what to look for. Okay, so there's our corpse with Klein. Here. Drink, before anyone sees you. Why are you helping me? If you get caught, the Master-at-Arms might have you executed. I come from the simple stock myself. I couldn't just stand and watch them treat you like dirt. I had to do something. Ah, and there's our token bright spot amidst all this ugly darkness. I do like that they sprinkle those in just to help keep it from getting too overwhelmingly grimdark. Honestly, though, last episode, I was actually getting a bit unsettled because it was almost overwhelmingly optimistic, which definitely felt out of place for this particular setting. And we've got Hrotko, along with a lineup of arrested or detained workers, two of whom have highlighted names. Again, I'm not sure if that's relevant or just a quirk.
Is there money to be made?
When will they let us go already? My shift foreman's gonna cut my rations. He'll say we've been dawdling. You're worried about your rations? I saw them take your foreman to a little room that nobody ever comes out of again. You might be next. Don't like that. So, who's the foreman now? Who's going to be giving out the rations? Any enforcer who walks up to you is your new foreman, judge, and master. Pray that they don't lop your head off, or you won't have anywhere to put those rations of yours. Right back to the ugly darkness. Ooh, what do we have going on over here? Sparky Skull. Okay, we now have a discount Halloween decoration, which we can turn on and off. Oh, but we have more. We have two on each side. Interesting. Some of which are also lit up. Oh. Wait a second. Wait a second. Oh my goodness. Are we seriously looking at a lights out puzzle? Oh my gosh, I think we are. That is so gratifying after spending all that time back in the Astropathic Chapel, assuming we were running into one there. Though this would make for a really simple one. I mean, this is just 8 lights. Yeah, see? So now we just click this one, and then the one we started with. Nice! The Holy Mechanism has sent forth a revelation. The transmitted coordinates resolve to a location on one of the worlds in the Pellium Solitus system. Neat. Thanks. The stars that guide us. So apparently we now have 3 stops to make. The Pellium Solitus system. I'll add that to our to-do list. Lovely. Man, I cannot believe they actually went there. Now we just need a Tower of Hanoi. Possibly a one guard lies, the other always tells the truth scenario. A river with a chicken, a fox, and a bag of grain. I will say, though, the riddle of the Sphinx probably wouldn't work in this setting. The answer would just be Chaos Warp Beast. Hrotko looks on sourly as angry, bewildered enforcers attempt to interrogate serfs without resorting to violence. When he sees you, he nods nonchalantly as before. Your lordship, how fares the interrogation? Satisfactory. We're maintaining fear and respect among the rabble as we go through our suspects. We will find the culprit soon. I swear it on my rank. Okay, well, good luck with that. I hope it works out. Thank you, your lordship. Thank the God, Emperor, for the Lord Captain. He saved us. Another minute and they'd have broken my arm, and I'd have been unable to feed my family. You still don't remember? That's too bad. Not to worry. Another half watch in solitary should refresh your memory. It was such a nice ring. But where did it go? If I find it, I'll give it back to them, and then maybe they'll let me go for my good service. I'm sure they will. I'm sorry, what? Could you perhaps elaborate on that sentence fragment? The enforcer knocked him about so hard that a ring came off their noble hand. Interesting. Okay. Wait, so where did that... Is that in the main... I'll have to go back and double-check the recording. I think that said the enforcers were beating a noble who was also a fake cultist? And a ring came off his finger, which certainly sounds like a clue. Though, again, much like with the drain pipe and the master cogitator, it's entirely possible. It's something we're not supposed to have stumbled across just yet. Since this is certainly the first we're hearing about a noble pretending to be a fake cultist. I'm actually not really sure what to make of that. We haven't really come across any factions or characters that are known for rings, I think. At least, not within the confines of the DLC. Missing pinkies have definitely come up a bit, though. I am still curious if that's going to go anywhere. Alright, well, it seems like I might need to go back and talk to all the characters with highlighted names, even if they seemed innocuous, because that random servant over there did, in fact, give us a lead. Which, might not actually be relevant to our investigation at hand. It might just be some extra loot, but still, it's something. That's it. It does look like we're running along anyway, so this is probably a good place to call it. We'll hit the pause button for now. I will backtrack a bit, double-check all the nooks and crannies and various named characters, and we will pick up here next time, as our investigation begins in earnest. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
The rest you need not know.